Peter Clausi from Silver Bullet Mines, how are you today?
Busy, busy, busy.
Well, you're developing quite a fan base because Silver Bullet Mines is doing things differently than other companies. Would you like to explain right out of the gate?
Sure. We agreed back in 2020 we were not going to get a 43-101 resource estimate. People told us you won't be able to raise any money, and yet here we are $20 million later. Right? We worked on the Buckeye, then we found Super Champ. We're working on that and the KT mine while we're putting the Washington mine up in Idaho into production under a contract miner. People have told us you can't do 3 mines at one time and run your own mill. And yet here we are.
In September, a lot of news. And so let's start with the Washington mine because that's the most recent news release. You just announced phase 2 developments, including mill evaluation. Tell us more about that.
Well, we have a contract miner up there who is going to extract, call it 50 tons a day from the mineralized material. Once you extract it, you have to do something with it. So do you stockpile it at site and build your own mill? Do you put it in a truck and run it to a local mill? Or even do you run it down to our mill in Arizona, which is probably not economical, but it still has to be considered. We have a proposal in from a local mill that we're evaluating. Putting it into a mill is like, hey, let's build a house. It's a sentence that sounds really simple, but a lot goes into it. And evaluating the proposal from the mill involves juggling a lot of different factors, and we're in the middle of doing that.
Something interesting about this news release, though, for everybody out there going, you got to have a 43-101 compliant resource. In this particular news release, you talk about significant potential for near-term processing and possibly securing one of those.
If the data proves that it's a very, very large, I can't use the word resource, a very large mineralized area, then it's possible that we would get a 43-101 resource report to be able to justify institutional money. If it's as large as we think it is, we may require institutional money, which then requires the 43-101.
The earlier news release just last week, I actually had to reread a second time because the headline says gold. We have gold as well, Peter, now at Silver Bullet Mines.
Yeah. Maybe we should call it Golden Bullet. You remember the story of how we came to own the King Tut mine, the KT mine. It's a funny story. We bought it for no shares, no royalty, no NSR, no GOR, and a small cash payment. And that's because there's no documentation on it. 2 of our employees worked at it in the 1980s. They remembered what they think they saw. So nobody else in the world will take a gamble on this. We did. We trust these 2 people. We took a 50-ton bulk sample from the waste rock. The 50-ton bulk sample was processed through the mill, reduced to concentrate. And from the concentrate, we got 38 ounces of gold per ton, just an astonishingly high number. We then ran the concentrate through a third-party ISO mill who came back at around 23 ounces of gold per ton, which isn't a surprise, right? You can never run the same samples. It's taken from different parts of the bag of concentrate. So there's a lot of gold at the KT mine.
So if I have this right, Washington mine is in Idaho.
Yep.
King Tut is in Arizona, but the same news release also provided an update on the Super Champ project in Arizona.
That's making us all crazy. We have a buyer for the concentrate from the Super Champ. In the contract, it says that we will send out some of the material to a third-party ISO accredited lab. They will send us back their assay report. Then we can calculate the gross economic value of the concentrate and then sell that to the buyer. That's the process. Right now, third-party labs are jammed. The reason for that is gold. Gold's at $3,700 an ounce. So everybody who has a gold project is dusting off their old samples, running into the field to get another sample, throwing it into the labs, and the labs are seriously backlogged. It's not their fault. It's just a huge inflow of material, and the labs are coping as best they can.
Yes, but Peter, you know everybody. Can't you leverage those relationships to get yourself prioritized?
Everybody's trying to leverage their relationships to get prioritized. At some point, you become a bully, and I never want to be a bully or a bad neighbor. So the samples are in the process, and we'll get our results when we get our results.
Well, I know you have quite the following, and on that, everyone's dying to know, what should we anticipate in the next quarter?
Well, this is where it gets a lot of fun. I anticipated having our first payment this quarter because of the delays that you and I just talked about related to the third-party lab. I doubt we will have our payment by September 30, but that means it'll happen next quarter. So receiving our first payment for the Super Champ concentrate will happen next quarter, and that's going to be very exciting. Now, this isn't an event where you take the ore, process the ore, sample the ore, sell the ore. You can do many parts of this in parallel. So I know that they have been removing material from the Super Champ. I don't know if it's at the mine site or it's been taken to the mill site. And they've been extracting material from the KT mine, which is mostly gold. So we're going to see what I think are going to be some brilliant assay numbers out of both the Super Champ and the King Tut. And we're going to see the first payment for the concentrate from the Super Champ.
Peter, what is your capital structure?
We only have 125 million shares outstanding, which in the world of junior mining is quite small. We just closed the financing at a premium to the market, and now we're trading at where that premium financing took place.
And of course, for those of you interested in finding out more about Silver Bullet, please go to the following website or follow @Clausi Peter on X. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.